All right, everyone. Appreciate you tuning back into the channel today. So, in this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about a controversial way to get the courage and the confidence to talk to hot girls. And this is something that I implemented myself, and I think it could be valuable. So, we'll go ahead and we'll jump right in. So, alcohol, right? People have differing beliefs on alcohol, liquid courage per se, right? So, something that you could do, and again, this video does not promote underage drinking at all. Just want to make that caveat. Something that you could do is have progressive acclimation to the anxiety of talking to hot girls. So, what do I mean by that? Everyone obviously, it would be easier to go to and talk to your crush or go talk to a hot girl in any venue, right? Whether it's a nightclub, a mall, a coffee shop, if you had a few drinks in you, right? That's the way the world works. It's social lubricant and it's liquid courage, right? But we don't want to use things and drugs and substances as crutches in life, right? So the only way we could talk to hot girls or to make friends or to socialize is with these substances, right? But what we could use them strategically, and that's what I'm going to jump into right now. So, I'm someone who in my early 20s, right, didn't have much success with women so far in my life, didn't cold approach many women, had never picked up a girl from a bar and brought her home. Actually, one time, the first time I did it was at I think 22 years old. And so ultimately what you can do, when I first started to learn how to cold approach and go out, and this was solo too, which is even more difficult, right? Because you're there alone, you're worried what people think. What you could do is you could use alcohol. And so you could have literally 9 or 10 drinks, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is you could be absolutely plastered, but hey, you're out there now. You're talking to hot girls, right? You're probably going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to be stuttering over your words. You're probably not even going to remember some of these interactions the next day, right? But hey, you went out there and that's a step in the right direction. You actually approached 5 hot chicks that night, right? Well, the next week you go out, instead of having 10 drinks, have 9. Do it again. You'll probably have pretty similar results, right? Next week you go out, do it with 8. Then the next week with 7, 6, 5. So now, right, you're getting more and more reps under your belt. You're getting more experience, but now you're becoming progressively acclimated to the anxiety of talking to hot girls. You're getting more experience how these interactions should go. But contrarily, at the same time, inversely, you are basically becoming more sober, right? So you're slowly and slowly getting more sober throughout the process, and you're going to find that you're starting to get a little more anxious again. But then you're going to see that the less alcohol you have, actually, the better some of these interactions go. You remember them. You don't make a fool of yourself. You sound more put together. You don't look like you're in another planet. And so that process, right, of going to 5 drinks, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you want, you could even then go out sober. And I remember in my early 20s having an epiphany, um, in my early 20s thinking, dude, I'm out here. I had 1 drink, 2 drinks. I'm out here alone and I'm talking to really hot chicks. And a lot of these interactions, some of them are going pretty well. And it was in that moment I finally gave myself permission that, wow, I'm a confident guy. And it was all through the process of the acclimation, right? It's called exposure therapy, is what it really is. You're exposing yourself to the fear of doing this, and you're using a substance to responsibly to help get yourself over that hump. So I'm a big believer as well. I believe you're training your subconscious mind. So I think even if you're fucking plastered to shit and you're going around, you're networking, you're talking to hot chicks, you're socializing, you're really getting out of your element. I think even though you're only really doing it because you're plastered, I believe your subconscious brain is slowly getting acclimated to the inner belief that, okay, this is what this guy does or this girl, that he networks, he has social courage, he does this. And especially as you lower the drinks every week, that even more so shifts your identity, beliefs, and core values now, and core beliefs. Now, guys, so if you listen to this point in the video, I'm about to drop some life altering information and game and advice right now. So listen very closely. The ultimate thing, and I think this would be one of the best things for any male in the world to do, is if you really want to be able to get rid of your social anxiety, improve your social skills, boost your social confidence, and improve your cold approach and pickup game, what I would actually promote, you could do the alcohol way, like I said, or you could take a solo trip. Now, I can't think of a better city in the world to go to than New York City or Rome. Rome was a very good one because it's very walkable. Everyone there is tourists. But anyways, choose a city, go there solo, and if you have the courage to do it sober. All right. And it's going to be pretty awkward, embarrassing. You're going to go through so much growth within 3 days, 4 days, you wouldn't even imagine. But go to New York City sober, go out and tell myself, I am not coming home back to my location, my home destination. I'm not coming back home until I talk to 20 hot chicks and have like, and when I say talk to, I'm not saying asking for the time, like people say, slowly acclimate, right? Or, hey, just want to give you a quick compliment. I'm saying genuinely cold approach these girls. Try to have a long discussion, try to get their number, try to see if you could meet up with them later that night if the discussion's going well. And ultimately, what that's going to do is that's going to, within 3 days, absolutely skyrocket your confidence. It's going to make you less prone, less feeling the rejections, right? You kind of get to a point where you don't really care about the rejections. You get to a point where you build a lot of positive reference experiences, right? So you might go up to 5 girls and maybe one of them actually went really well and you ended up banging her, right? And then you're going to be able to think back on that experience and that'll give you confidence and courage in the next one. So ultimately, a lot of these, if you look at people like Owen Cook or Julian Smith, I think is his last name, or like Coach Kyle, a lot of these people that are in the game or like manosphere realm, you could see that they actually venture a lot into spirituality and enlightenment. And the reason why is because I think when people go through a shit ton of approaches, like I've probably done 2,000 plus cold approaches to date, no exaggeration. You realize that at the end of the day, all of this is it's a path to enlightenment, self-discovery. And I made another video on this channel about how cold approaching basically lets you figure out who you are, what you're made of, and your self-limiting beliefs. So let's say you're in New York City, you see a girl, you might want to go up to her, oh, but what if people hear me? What are they going to think of me? Oh, that girl's out of my league. I'm not good enough for her. Well, why? Oh, is it because you think you're not handsome enough? You think you're not in good enough shape? You think you don't have enough experience? Is it because you never got a girl like that before? Is it because and you need to really become self-aware. It's a very painful process. This is a process, guys, where, trust me, and I've been through this with friends, where they actually don't want to push through. They kind of make it right to that point of the awkward, they get rejected really bad once, and then they just never do it again. If you could really push through this, it's actually a path to enlightenment and self-actualization, I believe, right? Which is the ultimate on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? There's like sex at the bottom, food, shelter. We want to get to self-actualization. And I think cold approaching is a path and a journey to self-actualization in the end. So I wanted to wrap this video up with my thoughts overall on alcohol. I'm in my 30s now, and when it comes to my thoughts overall on alcohol, here are some things that I think. So ultimately, a lot of people believe, the ultimate end game, which I thought for a while, is to be able to, go through this acclimation period of progressively having less and less drinks, and then ultimately with the goal of going out sober, right? But what I realized is at the end of the day, I view alcohol, if you could do it responsibly, as a performance enhancing drug. So what do I mean by that? If you're the only guy in the nightclub that's sober, the only one, let's be honest, with 2 drinks, I really do, it does open me up. It makes me a little looser. It makes me not give as much of a fuck, right? And if I'm pissed sober, like I've been in the past trying this, I could still get results. I could still do a good job and I could still do it. But it is a little, just the slightest, tiniest bit more nerve wracking. And I'm just a little bit more less risk taking, right? I realize all the other guys in the club, right? They're having this falsified liquid courage, and it's actually giving them a competitive advantage in that environment with the girls, right? So to level the playing field, I realized, I've come a long way. I could do this sober, but at the end of the day, in a nightclub environment, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to have 1 to 2 to 3 drinks is my sweet spot. And in my opinion, that's what puts me in the perfect zone of where I'm coming off sober. I'm pretty much sober. My thought processes are great, but it just gives me that little extra edge. And then that's been when I believe I could beat out a lot of these other guys. Now, as I get older, right, I'm trying to cut down alcohol more and more and more. When I meet up with people, even on some dates, right, within 5 to 10 minutes, if I know if initially I meet up with a girl off of an online date and I realize, oh, I don't really like this girl, I don't really give a shit, or it's just a hookup, I won't even have a date. Have a drink, even though I said let's meet for drinks. I'm really trying to cut down the alcohol during the weekdays and only use alcohol when I need it strategically, right? I'll be the first to admit I still struggle with social anxiety to a degree, guys. I was in such a fucking horrible place with this shit in my early 20s and in my teenage years. And so, if I'm at a pool party or this or that, just look around. Everyone's drinking. So I'm going to have a little bit because it makes it go a little bit better. But when it comes to using it as a crutch or getting plastered to talk to girls, I really believe that you need to slowly acclimate down. Slowly become more exposed to the stimuli that you're afraid of. And then also, I want to do this, like I said, again, I'm going to probably book a trip here just purely for the fun of it, the sport of it. And again, since I've been more focused on my goals, kind of inside the last few months, focusing on my career, this channel, certain things going on in my life as well. But what I'm going to focus on is I want to take a trip somewhere and just go on a massive cold approach rampage, even going into nightclubs sober. And I believe there's a shit ton of personal growth that goes on in those, and it's fun as well. So, anyways, guys, I'm just gonna wrap up my thoughts. Um, Now, those are just some of my thoughts overall regarding alcohol when it comes to socializing, meeting new friends, picking up girls, and going out, and really facing potential social anxiety that you have as well. So, with that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning into the channel as always. Sorry, I feel like this one was a little bit more rambly than usual. But if you've tuned in this far, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.